Well, hello and good evening. Welcome to our open development stream for June 2021. Sorry for the short delay, but yeah, we had some technical issues. Also, we did spend too much time chatting before the stream because Dagmar and I both got our first doses of the Moderna vaccine today, and we were talking about our experiences getting the vaccine at the center because I went in the morning, Dagmar went in the afternoon, and yeah, they were a bit friendlier in the morning. So there's that. All right. So let's talk about the plugin that you have voted for. This month we are going to develop a channel reference node. I didn't get a chance to actually develop anything so far. Basically the idea is to have a node that you can add to any node graph. And the point of that node will be to reference any of the channels that you have animated, even channels from other items or channels that control something completely different. So in a way, this will be similar to the current variable nodes that we have here, except that this one allows you to create a channel or an envelope using the E button here. But the new one is going to be a single node, and it will give you an option to select the channel, and that is going to open something that is quite similar to the channel selection over here, or actually closer to the one down here, which allows you to look at all the channels in the current scene and select one of them. The output type of the node will depend on what kind of channel you select, which can either be a single scalar or a triple scalar, like a vector. In most cases, I can still think about whether the output should change from a color to a vector if the channels you select here are color and a vector. Also have to see if you can if you're going to be able to select a single channel like position.x or the whole triplet position.x.y.z. But the main thing for the channel reference node is going to be basically writing the picker to select the channel. There is kind of a component that exists within Lightwave, which can be used in XPanels. And XPanels, just as a reminder, are the ones that you can embed in other windows. So it's going to be another user interface that opens, and there you will be able to select channel. And let me just see, because I actually haven't checked this for a long time. Where is it? Over here. One thing I want to do is take some of the options that Cycler has and embed them as well. Basically, being able to cycle a set of frames depending on another controller. And in the case of the node, the controller will be an input value. And that would allow you to cycle through a referenced envelope using another value as a driver for that, which is fairly similar to the fact that you have a time input. Okay, this one is modal. You have a time input here in the variables node, which allows you to determine at which time you would like to sample this envelope. And there's going to be something similar in the channel reference node as well. But yeah, the main thing, the hardest thing is going to be to write the channel reference component, or the component that allows you to pick another channel. And let me just see if I find any plugin, any native plugin that actually has that or uses that, because I think there is one. But I can't actually quite remember it. Don't think there is one. Ah, there we go. There we go. So yeah, as you can see, this one cannot be resized. This is the channel, native channel follower. And it's kind of the same thing. It references another channel. And in this case, you can just, pick a channel here and then use that. The only problem that double click it, and then you have it. It will be similar, except that I want to make this resizable for sure. Also, one downside here is that you can't actually search for a specific channel, which could be a pain with large scenes, but I'm afraid I can't really filter this list of channels down depending on a set of parameters like a filter, like a string. So it is going to be essentially this whole channels component that they're using here, except that the whole thing will be resizable. And yeah, that's essentially how how to select a channel to reference is going to work. And yeah, I suppose the hardest thing is going to be able to make that resizable, because many of the user interface components aren't really designed to be resized dynamically. I'm not sure how it's going to end up here, but I've made it work in other cases, so it shouldn't be too hard. So yeah, essentially those are the key components for the channel reference node. One is you will be able to pick any channel in the scene or a triplet of channels. That will be exposed. By default, it's going to be evaluated at the current time, but you can change the time to have it evaluated at a different time. We will have the options that the cycler has as additional ways to manipulate the current time where the channel is being evaluated. And to select which channel you want to reference, you'll be able to use a user interface that's similar to the top part here. And it's not going to be embedded within the node user interface, but there's going to be a button that's going to be called select channel or something like that, which is going to open a modal window like this one that can be resized. So yeah, that's the general idea, and hello to the chat. So if you have any questions or any requests on what additional features you would like or think would make sense, I'd love to see them in the chat right now, because yeah, there isn't much more I can really talk about when it comes to channel reference node. It's a fairly simple thing. And let me just check something. Oh, no, we don't want that here. I want that elsewhere. There we go. I'm just checking what else I wrote in the description. Time delay. Yeah, time delay can be added. It would be more of a static time delay, I suppose. On the other hand, you are going to have a where are we? Okay, I have to close this. There is certainly going to be a time input here, and you could use that to, I can just show it here, scalar subtract, take the input time, subtract, I don't know, come on, minus 10, which would be minus 10 seconds, and put that here. So that would give you a delay as well. But yeah, if you guys want a built-in delay, sure. That would certainly work. And yeah, I'm just going to quickly check if I wrote anything else in the poll. Yeah, I did write in the poll that, or in the voting for the plugin, that there's going to be different nodes, but I don't think there is any reason to make like a scalar vector and integer node, because it will all depend on what you actually select, and then we can just need to switch the outputs anyways. And yes, another thing I wrote in the features is a way to extract the velocities with a user-defined time difference. The velocity in this case will basically just be the difference of the current time compared to a time either in the past or the future on that same uh, envelope. And it's just going to be those two samples. So if you have like a smooth curve and you really want the exact velocity at that point in time, it's not going to be accurate enough for that, because then it would need to actually sample multiple points to catch the shape of the curve. But it should be good enough for simple velocities. And yeah, since we have that in there, we might as well have a time offset or something. And that's going to be, basically just make the user interface design for the node itself here a bit trickier to cram all the features in there, give them labels that make sense, and also yeah, make sure that the important features are there first, and then the secondary ones that aren't that important. So yeah, that's all I have to talk about, really. And yeah, what else? Oh yes, of course, last month we had the motion deformer node, and I think all the bugs were fixed so far. One thing I didn't add are the handles and the tool. I'm still kind of contemplating on how to approach that best. So while it hasn't been a part of the initial release, I'd certainly like to add that later, and maybe combine it with another set of deformer nodes with handles, maybe like a bend deformer or a twist deformer. Um, that way we might eventually have a full set of deformers with handles, and then maybe actually just have a single tool to activate all those handles, as opposed to one tool for a translation deformer, another tool for a twist deformer, and a third tool for a rotation deformer. If the function of the tool itself is just to hide the native tool and make sure that the new db&w deformers show their handles, maybe it makes sense to just approach it from that direction, and think of all deformers as a whole set of plugins, as opposed to just one transformation deformer and then just moving on to something else. So yeah, yeah, questions please. And yeah, if you're wondering about side effects, except that the place where the injection was hurts a bit, nothing so far, but yeah, that might change in the next couple of days, but that's it's expected. So yeah, and one thing I would certainly like to do is be able to filter down the channels, um, but that would probably require writing a complete custom component, or do the rendering of the graph of channels manually. And I'm not sure if that is feasible, but it's certainly something to think about. And yeah, sorry for not being able to show anything so far. But I think we have the components in place now. It's just mainly a question of just coding it. Oh yeah, as far as the time frame, I will start on this tomorrow. So if all things work the way they should, you should be able to get a first version by next week, maybe toward the end of next week, and hopefully maybe have a couple of days time before the Q&A stream to play with it and come up with features and suggestions. One thing that happened with the last development, the transformation node or transformation deformer, is that many of you just posted suggestions on Discord, and some of them were implemented quite quickly. So if you haven't yet, it certainly makes sense to join our Discord. And also, yeah, because we're going to show updates there and everything. Yeah, Kevin, next week, probably end of next week or something. I think I can get the basic functionality, the cycle functionality and everything, all of that done fairly quickly, as well as picking a channel. And then I think the area that I would then spend a bit more time on is the panel where you select a channel and maybe, allow for filtering and things like that. Because I think the basic functionality of the node should be done fairly quickly, and then it's more about comfort in using it. And the biggest part there is being able to comfortably select a channel, especially if you have like a massive scene with hundreds, maybe even thousands of channels, and you want to filter that down to something that is useful to you. And I'll have to see if I can get that to be a bit more streamlined with a reasonable amount of effort. Where reasonable is, yeah. But I certainly think that for big scenes, it should be quick to use as well. And I'm a big sucker for being able to search something and filter things down. I mean, for example, if you look at the channel names here, there's no point in searching for something like rotation, scale, position, because that's going to be everywhere. But you might want to filter for something like light and then get all the sections that are underneath the light. So filtering or text-based filtering code for something like the channels should actually never take the channel group, which is position, or the channel name into account, but only the items on top of that. Or you actually need two types of filters where you say, okay, one filters within the hierarchy of items, and the other one actually filters for the channel name and the channel group name. But for example, if you would filter something like this naively and you just filter for light, then you would be able to see those two groups here, light and end light, but it would completely ignore everything that's down here and not show that at all, which is something you don't want. So yeah, if you turn or replace this very simple user interface element by something that's a bit more sophisticated, it can get to be a lot of work quite quickly if you want to make it work in a very sensible way. And unfortunately, I can't just start typing here and it does something, which would be a nice feature request. So yeah, I think that's basically it. Yeah, getting the basic thing to work is going to be fairly quick, and then we'll just see what's possible beyond that in making the channel selection more user friendly, I suppose, or more powerful. So yeah, Also, earlier today we posted that we have 76 patrons. I was 75. I was lying because somebody else actually reactivated their Patreon today. So we're at 76. So yes, any more questions or would you like some clarifications? Anything that isn't clear? Thanks, Mika. Yeah, the last couple of days were odd because we just have more active patrons, but we actually do not have more patrons in general. It's just people that kind of were paused or something, decided to reactivate their Patreon for us, which is always nice. So yeah, if there is no more questions, I think we'll just call it a night. Thanks to all of you for watching. As always, I will be posting updates on the Discord. If you're not there, please join it. If you're not a patron and you would like to support us, there's links below the video where you can join the Patreon. And other than that, yeah, thanks to all of you for watching, for taking the time, and stay safe. And yeah, we'll see you online. So, bye bye.